Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sporty Show. I'm Sara and I've missed you all. I hope you guys have missed me just as much as I've missed you. Football continues to keep us busy, and we have much to get into today. Ancelotti to Brazil. Who's going to win the Ballon d'Or? Lots to discuss here. And who better to do with it with blah, 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 KlintonCod.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Wagwan. It's a beautiful day the Lord has made. Now, I wasn't actually aware that Ancelotti is going to Brazil, but I think it's a story I definitely would love to listen to anyone who has more information, especially from Sara. But then again, we also have two lovely women who will
Clinton and the ladies today.
Right. So how was I supposed to speak about the ladies?
There's three beautiful ladies beside you, and it's just you. What were you
Sorry, but what did I say before? What did I...
Where did you go?
No, I said we have, two other beautiful ladies, right?
Yes, yes.
Right? Oh, amazing ladies to discuss this whole stuff with. Shantelle and Nouha, what's up? What's going on?
Thank you, Clinton. Yes, we do have a lot to talk about. Ancelotti to Brazil. I would love to see how that play out for him, of course. And Nouha is here. You'll be doing social media.
Of course, I had to be here on the day Ancelotti decides to go. But yes, I will be taking care of social media today. So the keyword today is funny. The funnier you are, the more I am inclined to read your comments. So send it off.
If you need any lessons on how to be funny, just feel free to message me. And assuming you want Nouha to be reading your messages, I am the plug.
Okay, well, on that note, guys, coming up right after today's show, we do have the second leg of the EFL Championship playoffs between Sunderland and Coventry. Let's see who gets the job done. All right, after that, we have CONMEBOL Libertadores with Deportiva Táchira taking on Central. We also have tomorrow the Under-17 Women's UEFA Championship, Austria taking on Spain, and Netherlands versus France. And in La Liga, it's Deportivo Alavés taking on Valencia. With Atlético Nacional and Bahia back to the Libertadores on the 15th, it's Al Raid versus Al Ittihad, Nacional versus Internacional. And on Friday, River is taking on Independiente. Union Yukon in the Chinese Super League will face Meizhou. Al Nasser and Cristiano Ronaldo and co. will be taking on Al Tawun. And Saturday, Kobe versus Osaka in the J-League, as well as Urawa versus Tokyo. In the Bundesliga this week, Hoffenheim versus Bayern Munich. And the final of the Women's Under-17 Championship. We'll see who makes it to it. And we'll end it all off on Sunday with Anderlecht taking on Club Brugge and Brentford taking on Fulham in the Prem. So lots of football here. As always, stay tuned to Sporty TV. All right, guys, let's dive in. Lots to talk about. Before we talk about Ancelotti, let's talk a little bit about La Liga, because, of course, we do have some La Liga matches this week. Midweek, we could find out who will win La Liga. But before that, tonight's matches are Real Valladolid versus Girona, Real Sociedad versus Celta, and Sevilla versus Las Palmas. Clinton, tomorrow I mentioned we have Alaves versus Valencia. And this is a massive match for us. Why?
Because Valencia is...
Nope.
Sorry?
Alaves.
Sorry, because?
Alaves.
Oh, Alaves. Yeah, of course. I mean, Alaves, isn't it? Well,
What should Alaves do tomorrow?
they have to win.
No.
Because we have an attachment to, as you all know, Leganés and Sporty TV. Oh. And Leganés need Alaves to lose, so when they play their match, they can try and slide up into, or out of, rather, relegation. Yeah. So a massive match. We've been watching Leganés all season, haven't we?
No, absolutely. And the fact that they won their last game was also something I believe would be...
And what a game that was, too, against
absolutely.
Espanyol.
And it was 3. I can't remember if they came from behind. No, they didn't come from behind to win the game, did
Yes, they did.
They did, right? So, yeah, I think it was a very... I was just happy to see them shine, especially if you are having Sporty TV written on your shirt. Listen, we are not known to be losers.
Sorry, they didn't win. They drew. Sorry. We're gonna...
It wasn't a draw!
It was a draw. It was 2-2. So everyone, come back. We're coming back.
Sorry?
2-2.
No, I saw... Wait.
Wait, no, they won.
No,
Sorry,
we won,
everyone,
we won.
look me in the eye. I made a mistake.
Oh, man.
Sorry, guys. There's too much football going on. They drew Sevilla 2-2. The last match was against Espanyol, and they did, in fact, win 3-2. You were right. Continue.
Yeah, no, I was just happy to see that they did win the game, and you know how much they've been unlucky this season, where it's almost like they face really difficult teams. You know, they're almost on the verge of winning, and boom, for some reason, they always still go behind. And I don't think Leganes is one of the teams that would, or I would say, deserve to be in that position of relegation. I don't, because I see them play. They have a good team. They have team that. My only problem is they have that syndrome that we tend to see with Real Madrid, where they usually don't know how to finish up a game, right? So let's say you're winning and you pretty much understand how important that win is, but then again, you tend to fall to that relaxed mood, and from nowhere you see your opponent coming to start scoring unnecessary goals, and you start asking yourself questions like, hang on, what is wrong with your defense? Why can you guys not just hold a win? We saw it with Real Madrid and Barcelona in this last El Clasico. Real Madrid and Mbappe literally carrying, I know that's not the match we're speaking about.
Wait, what happened in that match? We
Barcelona
haven't
won.
talked about it.
Barcelona won. And, sorry?
I was there.
No, I mean, yeah, the funny thing is, when we started the show, I thought that was going to be our first topic to
Slowly.
speak
Let's
about.
ease
You're
into
getting
it.
slowly. Now, but yeah, we saw Real Madrid get on 2 goals. At that point, I was saying to the guys yesterday in the studio, I literally was screaming, Madrid is back, baby. Like, this was it. This was it. Like, finally.
Have you not learned about the
That's
remontada?
That's the thing. I was thinking that Real Madrid would have learned, right? Not me having to learn for them being rubbish, right? They should have learned from the last 3 El Clasicos. But for some reason, the question is, how come you win and then all of a sudden you see yourself feeling relaxed, and then they come back from a 2-0 and they load you 3 goals?
4.
No, I mean, talking about 3 went straight. Oh, I mean, it was 4.
4
That was
went
actually- no,
straight.
It was 4.
Four.
It was 4 before
Yeah, it was 4.
halftime.
It was 4. Which you don't honestly, it was a very big shame. It was a shame. The only one person who I thought didn't lose the game was Kylian Mbappe, because whether you like it or not, that guy has literally, in as much as we're saying in the show again, it's just almost like me repeating myself so many times, but you know, everybody would tend to say he's having a very bad season, but then right now he's literally the highest goal scorer in Spain. Would you really say that he's had a bad season? In all honesty, no. I just feel like Madrid, they just keep letting him down, and they are not really playing like the team we see with Barcelona. So this is exactly what I think about Leganes. Leganes, you will see them playing against these strong teams, and they are putting up this really strong fight, you know, and you ask yourself, hang on, are you sure this team, they're a relegation team? But then you also see where they make those certain mistakes of, you know, these defensive errors, and next minute they are losing the game. Sorry to, but they won Barcelona.
And Atletico Madrid.
And Atletico Madrid, and they nearly won Real Madrid. I watched the game, like, they nearly, it's just that, like I said, they would always just fall short of those little errors that you would expect from players who you would tend to believe are La Liga players. These are high-level players. And then now see what we have. I hate it when you have to depend on teams that are not your teams to survive a league. So now, what's the whole story now? Alaves, they're hoping that they don't win, just so they come win their game. You shouldn't be in this kind of situation.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been difficult to watch Leganes all season. As you guys know, I'm mostly at Butarque, and I think maybe one of the most unluckiest teams. But one player that did shine against Espanyol over the weekend was Yandu Mande, who, Clinton, we actually spoke to after the last match against Barcelona, youngster, 18-year-old from the Ivory Coast.
Yep.
Now, Nouha, you also got to speak to him even more recently, actually.
Yes, because we're filming a documentary with the African players in Leganes. Yandu Mande is one of them. He is 17 years old, so really young. He already has a big story to tell. Really young person, big story, a big storyline. And he actually scored during the last game against Espanyol. Was his first goal ever. He cried after that one goal because he thought of his late sister, who recently died. He also thought of his mother, who is sick. So he has, that goal holds a lot of story and a lot of passion behind it. Another player who actually scored was Cisse. So 2 African players scored during that game, which is always a joy.
Neu, no? Did he score? Did he play? No?
Who?
Ivan Neu.
Neu, he played, didn't score.
Yeah, okay.
But hey, he's a defensive midfielder, so we can expect him to score.
I mean, everybody scores these days.
He did a great game.
Even keepers score. Like, the least defenders, they score. Everybody scores. I think we've gone, I think it's just, gone are the days where everybody just does the job that they are assigned to in football. Now we see everybody scoring. You see central defenders, of course, they will only score when it's time to go to the headers from the corners. And then you see the midfielders who are supposed to be. You even see right back, you see the left back, you see the likes of Koundé. Like, come on, who doesn't score these days, though?
Koundé said it in an interview. I don't know if you watched that one, but he said this is what makes it very hard today to play, because everyone expects you to do all these kinds of roles, and it's not what it's awaited from you when you sign up for the job. You're not supposed to be a defender and then go and attack and score. So I don't know if you should expect players to be like that. It's always a plus if they do, but I don't think it should be expected of them.
No, absolutely. You see, coming back to the Champions League game between Inter and Inter and then Barcelona, right? Where
it
Barcelona
lives in our brain.
I mean, obviously, your team got battered, so I'm sure you will remember.
I don't think battered is the right word. I think that was one of the best Champions League games of all time.
No, definitely, 100%,
That's what I was referring
100%. But no, what I was going to say regarding it, we saw, Yann Sommer, whom everybody just felt like, it wasn't even him, even including Chesney. Like, they felt like these guys all of a sudden, they were giving you what they expect from goalkeepers, right? Your job is just to literally make sure the ball does not get behind the net. Literally, that's the job of a goalkeeper. The goalkeeper should not be finding assists, like we see with the likes of, say, Ederson from Manchester City.
Alisson.
We see Alisson. And every keeper now, they are trying to now have this quality just so they have something on their CV to say this is something you're better than every other keeper. But then again, we tend to forget about the ones who tend to mess these things up. And in the process of messing it up, people now start asking questions. Hang on, is your job meant to be to play football, or is it just to make sure that you are avoiding the ball from getting behind the net? So now you will come to the likes of Onana, right? Where they say,
I was waiting. Like I just knew it was coming.
But this is true though, because these kind of goalkeepers, right? It's not like they can't do it, but because of the maybe how careless they could be trying to pull off this assist that they see from the likes of Ederson, they end up maybe passing the ball to an opponent who ends up, scoring. And then you hear everybody saying, that's not your job. Your job is to make sure the ball doesn't get in. Like, what are you guys trying to do?
What are you doing?
So now, the game between Barcelona and Inter, with how tough it was, with how magical it was, with how beautiful the game was, I went on social media and I was just seeing people, for the first time, analysing keepers. Because what I saw with Sommer was, even there were some of the kind of ball that you would think they would do, like just catch once. But just because they were trying to avoid any kind of error, any kind of mistake, punch it to go as far as possible. Right? They were not trying to do the whole fancy kind of goalkeeping where it's like, the ball comes, you just want to dive it in a very, saucy, sexy way or whatever. They were literally just punching it in. And when I was looking at all these analyses on Twitter, people just kept on saying, this is what traditional goalkeeping should be. And not this whole stylish stuff. If you are able to pull off the stylish stuff, that's fine. If it works for Ederson. My man has like 4 assists in season. He has more assists than a lot of midfielders in the Premier League. You know how crazy that is. It works for him. But the ones who it doesn't work for, through this, should they consider, or should they just concentrate on being a goalkeeper, or should they be the keeper, sweeper, stroke, whatever, all over?
All right.
I mean, I know that's not the question you asked me, but I think we've just run into different...
And back to Yandu Mande.
Yes, so where were we? So he
You have
scored.
something to show us?
Yes, I do have a little video for you guys.
Okay, let's take a look.
Just when it looked like Leganés was slipping towards relegation, a 17-year-old stepped up and reminded everyone what real heart looks like. Yandu Mande, only 17, Ivorian, and already being called the next Drogba. On Sunday against Espanyol, he didn't just score, he changed the game. His goal gave Leganés the lead, but the moment that followed, raw emotion. Yan broke down in tears, and it wasn't just about football. After the match, Yan revealed he was thinking of his late sister. This wasn't just a goal, this was for her, and that kind of passion, you can't teach it.
I dedicated this goal to my little sister. As I said last time, I lost her not too long ago, so I really wanted to score this goal to dedicate it to her. I really wanted to score this goal. So, thanks to God it happened, and I hope she's proud from wherever she is.
Cisse, who also scored that day, called Yan his little brother, and this is what truly makes Leganés team very special.
Yes, I'm so proud of him because he had a great game, and I hope he keeps it up and brings a lot to the team.
And with 2 more goals, including an own goal forced by Danny Raba, Leganés secured a massive 3-2 win. And guess what? They're now just 1 point away from escaping relegation. This win wasn't just about points. It was hope, it was resilience, and most of all, it was unity. This team is led by Africans, a team with soul, with story, with fight, and Yandu Mande, he's not just a player, he's a symbol of their survival. 17 years old, a heart full of fire, a team full of belief, and a city that's not given up without a fight.
Really beautiful stuff to see. Nouha, you spoke to him, obviously, like I mentioned, more recently, but he's gone through a lot of adversity to get to where he is, and he's only 18 years old.
Exactly. He's gone through so much. When I talked to him for the documentary, I wasn't expecting so much content to get from that because he's young, and I expected talking to a 17-year-old.
He's 18, he's 18.
18-year-old. But he speaks with so much poise. He wants to tell his story out there. He is, I mean, we talked about his family and how he's away from his parents, from his mother since he was young. And he was like, I got away from my house since I was young, so I don't even know what it's like to live with them anymore. But yeah, his story is truly beautiful, and I think it will shine through the documentary we're making. I think people will see how he plays and how he connects with other players, African or non-African. I think he connects with everyone, and I think the Leganés players in general connect with each other so well.
Shantelle, I wanted to ask you as well. I mean,
So beautiful.
oh, are you crying?
Sorry.
No, it is. But I was just going to ask you about that. You know, we see a lot of players that face adversity. One that immediately comes to mind is Luis Diaz, obviously, when his parents were kidnapped. Of course, even Luis Enrique, the coach of PSG, who lost his daughter Shana a few years ago. But it adds more kind of to these athletes that we look up to, that we watch week in and week out. You know, you really do recognize that they are human as well,
Yeah.
and they go through very human things like all of us.
No, honestly, because like hearing that story, I'm always one of those persons where I wouldn't say connecting, but like stories like that let me feel closer to the player in the sense that yes, they're human too. They go through things as well. You know, they're on the pitch. Sometimes the world is on their shoulder, but they still manage to pull off a good game. And you're right, mentioning Luis Diaz when they kidnapped his dad, and he was still turning up, showing out for Liverpool. And things like this, like showing resilience when things aren't going right, it makes the game beautiful, it makes the player beautiful, and it just adds the passion that I enjoy seeing.
Yeah, of course. Clinton, I know when we spoke to him, it was only a few minutes, and you could tell he was still so young. You know, he hasn't done a lot of media yet, and he's playing for a La Liga team only of late. But, you know, knowing all of this now, knowing what you know, you know, can you see how that affects his personality maybe a little bit, in that he's gone through a lot, and, you know, I think it's difficult to share these kind of things, especially when you're at such a high level?
First of all, I think an average African child's got so many things to share. You know, when you look at the continent Africa, there's so much. So I think an average African child, some people might say this is literally what people think. Or I would say majority of the children, right? They will tell you that life is already leading them by 2-0. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I understand
Right?
what you're saying, yeah.
So there's always something for you to. There's
You're
always
already
a story.
behind,
You're
so you
already
have
behind,
to
so you have to
go
catch
harder,
up, and you
yeah.
have to then win.
Yeah.
It's not just catching up. It's not just even having a draw.
You
You have to win, and that's the reason why every single opportunity that, you know, a typical African comes to Europe, and you kind of like carve out some level of career for yourself where you find yourself doing well, right? It's a moment of proudness, you know. And then when you start thinking about people who are not there to share this happiness or these victories with yourself, then it becomes even much more emotional. And I could even use myself as an example. I had so many plans for my mom, especially because she was a parent I was extremely close to. As a matter of fact, you know, it was very unbelievable when I got the call to say your mom had gone, right? The first thing I was just thinking about is, you know, I can't believe I've left the whole continent just to go find my way and my life and everything, you know, kind of extracting myself from that family life that a typical African child should have. But because of how, you know, the continent has become, right? We find it very difficult to have that association, that family, you know, so you could hear some say, I've not seen my dad for the last 10 years, I've not seen them for 9 years or whatever. Now, you end up getting to that point in your life where everything seems to be working. You start doing exploits, and these people are no longer there for you to share it with. It even becomes even much more emotional. So I would totally relate to every single thing that, you know, he's going through. When we spoke to him, remember, everything he kept on saying at that point was, he just wants to help the team. He wants to score. He wants to be the best. He made a statement, and I felt like, listen, if Lamine Yamal was making the statement, I would understand. But I'm hoping that you will get to that point. But he said, I want to be the best player in the world, and he said it with extreme conviction. Like he was very convinced by himself. He believes himself. He felt like I'm the guy, and people need to see what I'm. They need to see what I'm going to offer to
because
this league.
Persons, when you come from the humble beginning, as you mentioned before, you're already behind, so you have that extra drive where you have to prove yourself.
Absolutely.
So a story like that is just so beautiful, and
I
just want those players to win.
I do think that kind of confidence that he has is the confidence that only a 17-year-old can have, an 18-year-old can have. We see it with Lamine Yamal. I think Lamine has that sort of confidence, and I don't think some people may see that as arrogance. I don't see that as arrogance. I see that as beautiful.
I mean, there are people that will tell you that it's just saucy. He just has, you know, there are, I mean, I've heard people that would say, listen, we need to cut his feathers. Like, this is a very typical African word. When they say they need to chop
humble
that,
you, yeah.
humble you,
Humble you.
down. You know, there are people who would also tell you that Lamine needs to chill. Like,
No.
it's over. For me, I just see a kid who understands how good he is, and he's also being a kid at the same time. The only point where he becomes an adult for me is when he's on the pitch, because he does not now play like a kid.
Yeah,
he's now playing like somebody who has extreme experience and maturity
Plus, you
in
know,
the game.
I always take something else as consideration. When you're a child of an immigrant, I don't know why, but you have that plus where, yes, you are fighting for what you want, and you have to go for it, and you have to be loud about it, because if you're not loud enough about it, you're not going to get it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's somewhat a fear when you're a child of an immigrant. You're like, if I don't fight and if I don't openly fight for it, then I'm not going to get it. And I think it's a hidden fear. I don't think it's a loud one.
I think
people need to give him a break, though, because like I've seen so many discourse,
I mean,
and I'm like,
yeah.
Are we forgetting that he's 17? This is how your average 17-year-old acts. So when I see persons parenting him, I'm like, he's going to grow out of it. He'll grow up. Like, let him dye there, let him dance, let him do it. He's young.
You see, like, Araujo making fun of the way he dresses and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but look at what you were wearing when you were 17.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see how.
No, listen. Honestly, if you know, oh my God, last time I went to Facebook.
No, for the sake of.
No, no. When I went to... No, the funny thing is, okay, I know you guys are going to say this guy's old again, right? But at 17, I don't think I had a Facebook. I don't know if my Facebook was even...
There wasn't
Facebook at the time.
There definitely wasn't Facebook.
Probably MySpace.
But the thing is, even the age where I got to, when I had Facebook, I went back to go look at these pictures, right? And immediately, I started deleting. I was just like, wait, who is seeing it? I forgot all the months. Everybody could have gone to see it. At this point, I'm seeing them again, and I'm like,
exactly.
Did I upload this rubbish? Like, wait, what was I even wearing on that leg? Wait, what shit? What? Hang on. What kind of stupid chain is on my neck?
And everybody goes through that, and he's literally going through that right now. So allow him to.
He has a bad style either. I think he's dressed like any other.
I think it's just a process in life.
Constantly makes fun of him, and they always post videos about it. But there's such an age gap between those two, right? It's just like he's 17. Whether it's good style or bad style, this is how he's going to dress. And I promise you, in 2 years' time, it will be different.
He will change the style.
It changes so quickly when you're that young. But there's also a video of him doing like the bottle flip on socials. 5 minutes before our Classico, he's sitting on the ground, he's flipping his water bottle, he does it in the first time, and he goes, you're about to play the final Classico, you know, it's a massive match, and this is what you're doing.
See, up until this week, I wasn't a big Lamine Yamal fan.
Up until this week?
Yes, I'm sorry. And then I saw...
No, don't be sorry. Well, I'm sorry for you. Wait, no. What?
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't. I genuinely didn't know.
It's an open
I didn't know. I don't know. If you guys at home, let me know if you knew Nouha wasn't a Lamine Yamal. Are you not a football fan?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're saying.
I am a football fan. I'm just not a Lamine Yamal fan.
But the two are...
But, hear me out. The Ryan Yamal story.
Hilarious.
Love it. And since then, I've been in.
So because he took a photo of,
Yes,
not because of what he did on the pitch, not
No.
because of what he did on the pitch. It's too easy. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it to her today, but I'll remember. And Nouha, back to Yandu Mande though as well, is you talked about this immigrant mentality, rather, if your parents are immigrants, but Yandu Mande himself is an immigrant, obviously coming to Spain after being in the US, but coming from Ivory Coast. So, I mean, it's such a growing experience for him as well in all aspects.
Absolutely, and what makes it even more interesting, like I said, he has the storyline. He actually was trained back home, and then he was bought by Leganes, who sent him to the US, but he also went to England. He was in England for several clubs. He was in Bournemouth, he was in Crystal Palace, he was playing for Chelsea because his dream club was Chelsea, just like any Ivorian kid out there. He is named as the next Drogba, but he grew up watching Drogba, so it's kind of funny for him. I think it's even more rewarding for him to be called that because he grew up watching Drogba, and he grew up watching Chelsea. That's his dream. That's his dream still. So it's beautiful seeing how his journey went from being trained at home to being here in Leganes in Spain.
Yeah, it's lovely. I'm really loving it, and I think it connects us all with footballers a lot more when we get to see these kind of stories and these sides that they are just like all of us, and they're going through a lot as well. So that documentary will be coming out at the end of this season. So stay tuned to see the Leganes by the African players and our point of view with that. So we will let you guys know, but it will be coming out very shortly. Other news in La Liga. Clinton, tomorrow, Real Madrid is playing Mallorca.
Yeah.
If they lose, Barca win La Liga.
I mean,
The sigh.
no, but I don't see them losing.
Do you think we're gonna wait until Barca play Espanyol on Thursday? Because if Barca win that game, then they'll clinch it then.
Yeah, but
Clinton, before you make your judgment, I have something to tell you.
go on.
I was in the training this morning. Carvajal was missing, of course. Militao was missing, of course. Alaba was missing, of course. Rudiger was missing. Mendy was missing. Lucas Vazquez was missing. Camavinga was missing. Vini was missing.
And Rodrigo came off.
And then
halfway through
Rodrigo came
training.
off, so he's not available for tomorrow either. That makes we have 8.
Is Ancelotti missing?
He will be soon.
Yeah, soon.
They still have Kylian Mbappe though.
And they still have Vinicius.
We
And they
had
still have Bellingham.
They still have
no.
And they still have
Vinicius is
Ceballos.
not playing tomorrow, but Mbappe is playing.
Is there any
But
reason why Vinicius is not playing tomorrow?
Clinton, you might need to go get those boots and go help them out.
No, because I was
this
I was
point.
still, I mean I was gonna say is Clinton missing as well, but I was yet to get to that point. But yeah, I mean I think what you've just listed a whole bunch of injury lists, which typically describes Real Madrid that we've seen the whole of the season so far. Now we pretty much understand that part of the reason why they've been going through this really bad drought for the club is because of this injury list. When you look at that defensive side especially, I think anybody who you would define as a proper heavyweight for Real Madrid in defense is not currently playing. You've just listed them. Carvajal, whom arguably was supposed to be a Ballon d'Or winner last year, is not there. You mentioned a Rudiger, who's like the power guy that's meant to be holding that defensive side together. He's one out, he's gone. You're looking at, what's the name of Militao, sorry. Militao, that one, in all sincerity, I think, his football career is literally coming to a very close end, in as much as it's still very soon, but all these injury problems seem to be taking out these guys. And it's to tell you how much football they seem to be playing, which in all honesty, and this is the first time I'm going to be soliciting for them, that, this is now becoming really too much for these guys. They're actually human beings. These guys train every day. They play football every day. I know people I'm one of those who would always say, but they are getting all the money they deserve to be playing every whatever. But, if they don't fight for themselves, I don't think anybody will fight for them, They will just continue. Listen, they are just going to finish from a whole multiple leagues, all kind of competition. They are going to have maybe less than a month of, I don't even think it's up to a month before they go into the Club World Cup, right?
Yeah, it will be about
They
a
won't
month.
have much of a break.
And Well, I mean, you have to consider when they have to return to train. So you would say maybe just under a month.
No, exactly. And then they finish that. There's obviously going to be pre-season, and then the season starts again. It's going to be champions. Like, you know.
No, it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. And I'm just thinking about their legs, you know. Like, these guys, it's literally like they run for a living. They're human beings. Why are they not... Okay, of course, we've seen the likes of Rodrigo come in to say, listen, we're playing a lot. I think a few players have come out. But I don't think they're taking it even more seriously, though, because whether we like it or not, we're going to continue seeing this type of injuries. When you look at even the likes of Lamine Yamal that we keep speaking about today, my man is 17. This is the journey that he's about to start, right? Listen, I'm sorry. When people say, yeah, this is the new Neymar or the new Lionel Messi or the new whatever, I don't see it happening because these injuries...
You think they're going to be burnt out before?
No, they will. They will. It's not like, do I
Yeah.
think? I know this is going to happen if care is not taken. Because Lamine is already started from... mind you, they didn't just start playing football from 17. These guys have been playing in their kids.
Yeah, but no, they're playing like at a high level, at such a young age.
What I'm saying is the legs have been working
Yeah.
right from they were like 4 or 5 years old, right? And these are guys who are good. So when you look at the likes of Messi and Ronaldo, whom at this age they still play football, of course you got to give proper credit and kudos to them because it just means that they are just made in a whole. Because Messi and Ronaldo are two guys that we've hardly seen or heard, but it's only in this point in their career where it seems like they are now passing now. That is beginning to now.
But they're kind of anomalies because you have Messi who is naturally gifted, and then Ronaldo who has this work rate that we're not seeing in most athletes, right?
Yeah.
So it's difficult because when you look at, let's say, the likes of Lamine Yamal, he's still physically growing, and to be playing football at this rate while your body isn't fully developed, I think that's what's scary because. Two things happening at once, I feel it could be dangerous for them.
I'm really hoping that they do, because you see, one thing I've realized about this whole football federation or whatever people in charge, all they keep thinking about is how much
Money they can make.
Money. But my question is, the people whom are the apostles or the guys who bring this money, if they are happy to continue being the sacrifice for it, that's fine. But in all honesty, I think it's a lot for them to, because it's not just going in to go play football every Saturday or whatever weekend they are playing. It's about the fact that they also have to train every day just before they get into these games. And this, I don't know how. With this injury, we will continue seeing it. And it will get to a point where maybe we'll start seeing teams having 3 teams. You start seeing clubs having 3 teams just with the mindset of, listen...
Like instead of 22 players, they go up to 33.
Exactly. No, of course.
Yeah. Okay, back to Real Madrid. They're taking on Mallorca tomorrow. I'm curious to see Guillem's, if he's in the comments, his thoughts on this one. But do you think they'll be able to get the job done against Mallorca at the Santiago Bernabeu?
I mean, when you look at the previous game they've had against teams, I don't think there's been any game that they've played and they've won convincingly. Right? And the only reason still comes down to this fact of, Real Madrid, they are not a team that we would have loved to see this season. And this is the reason why I keep saying Kylian Mbappe, you got to give him credit because, when you look at a team that's, they are going through all types of issues. You are starting from the fact that there's something tactically that's not working. There's something about the players not being able to click, with themselves. There's also something about players having severe injuries. That means that, for like a whole 6 weeks, you're not seeing this player, and then this player comes back, and there's a whole bunch of changes, and then there's a style of play that they're not so used to, and then you start seeing things not clicking. Listen, at this point, anybody can win. I can't not sit down here and tell you, it's going to be an easy win. There's a Real Madrid that I will see on paper, and I'll tell you, of course, this one, especially knowing that they've just come from a fatal loss, not just a normal loss. You've come from a Barcelona that have beat you 4 times this season already. Your next game, you want to go in there angry. Just the same way we saw with Barcelona. They lost a match that we thought that this would have been them going into the Champions League final, right? It was a very sad loss because it wasn't like they beat them 7 or whatever. It was just a narrow, loss. That means that Lamine Yamal is not going to play. So that was when you guys asked me in the studio, Clinton, who do you think is going to be having the serious pressure, right? First of all, I felt like the pressure has to come from Real Madrid because they are the ones who are now 3, they've not won out of 3 Clásicos, right? However, with Barcelona, they have just dropped down for Champions League. People say, is that going to demotivate you? No. This is now the La Liga. And that's when I knew that Real Madrid were in trouble. And then when the game started, Kylian Mbappe launched into you, I felt like, okay, maybe I'm wrong at this point. This loss from the Champions League is not telling on these Barcelona players. But then when they did the remontada baka, right? I was like, okay, maybe this is exactly what I mean. And this is the whole, they are going to take all the anger down to Real Madrid. And we saw.
But we keep thinking that all season, and it has just been disappointing. Us thinking that they're going to take out their anger because they lost, and what do they do? Lose.
Well, I mean, listen, this is the reason why I'm saying you are playing in Mallorca now, right?
No.
These are teams that, in Mallorca facing a Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, right? There's only one team that's going to be under severe pressure. It's going to be Real Madrid. First of all, the La Liga is there. It's not concluded just yet, right? Of course, they lost the game. That means that now even the probability of them winning it is now even much more longer, right? Now, if there's anything they want to do at this point is to understand that they've just had a fatal loss against Barcelona. This team, whether you are playing with 8 men, you have to win it. Like, no matter what it is, Mallorca, you can... And we've seen teams come to the Bernabeu recently. Look at Valencia. I mean, I just hope. Tell me, do you think Real Madrid will win it? I'm not very confident.
It's difficult to say because obviously of all the injuries they have, but Mallorca are also pushing for that Europa League position that we all know they want to get into. So for them, they have something to fight for. Real Madrid don't want to lose and hand over La Liga to Barca because I think that would be the, so to speak, cherry on top for the season. If Barca win, obviously on Thursday, they win La Liga. But if it were to be the fact that they didn't even need to play that game, Real lost, I think that will be weighing on them. We know Carlo Ancelotti is on his way out. I have to assume that they have enough in them to get the job done.
They will have
but Mallorca is not going to make it easy at all because they have a lot to fight for on the line. A friendly reminder to all of you, Guillaume is asking, yes, we do have an exclusive interview with Muriqi, of course, from Alex Ashmore. That'll be coming out later on our YouTube today, so make sure you guys check it out ahead of tomorrow's match against Real Madrid and Mallorca. Clinton, we have something from Shantelle in a moment, which we'll come to, but I have to ask you, I haven't seen you in a little bit. 4 El Clásicos, 1 season from Barcelona. Were you jumping up and down? Did you say, Lamine?
Oh, no, listen. Okay, so, I mean, everybody pretty much understand that Real Madrid, my team, I would always want them to win. I actually wanted them to win this last one. So it feels like it's a 3-1. And especially winning a last El Clásico in the season, maybe would have made us forget, about the other 3. Of course, it's unforgettable, but, to just give that kind of, okay, yeah, you know what?
At least walk away with something.
Yeah, go out, go
A condolence
with
prize.
one.
Yeah, at least.
But now when I was watching the game, Sara, I don't think there's any game where nobody screams Lamine Yamal, right? I was screaming to players on the pitch. It was Mbappe from the start. You need to see me shouting, Mbappe! Show! Are you mad? Show these guys! What? Lamine, what? Get out of here, bro! Are you mad, bro? What? And then, bro, listen, I was happy for the first time for Real Madrid. I was just very like, damn, what a way to come back. It wasn't just, it was the way the goals were. It was like, boom, boom. Yeah, like, okay. Yeah. Barcelona, you guys are dead.
No.
Finally, Sara will come on the show and I'll be able to be like, like, I was just waiting for something. And then as you... Oh, man, listen, I felt like it was a dream when I was seeing everything going. I was like, wait. We saw 2-1, 2-2. Hey! You see, when I saw 2-2, that was when I was like, okay. Yeah, Madrid will not be that stupid this time. Like, okay, the worst you can do is just to defend this draw. At least go with the draw. You've lost 3. I mean, a draw is not good, but when you look at the La Liga, table, that draw would have kind of like put Barcelona somewhere. And you watch them score a 3rd one, and then a 4th one.
I think Real Madrid is just having a very embarrassing season. And back to the whole with them facing Mallorca, Mallorca won't make it easy for them. And I think Real Madrid is a club where it's built on pride and ego. And for them, for this season where we're supposed to be, the super team, and they're going trophyless, they have to step up in this match. Because it's not that it would be so bad that, well, it would be bad if they just hand the title over to Barcelona, but I feel like they would at least try and win the La Liga, because to go trophyless in this season when there was this big hype around Real Madrid will not look good for them at all.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Real Madrid in action tomorrow against Mallorca at SportyBet right now. They are the favorites, 1.40 at the Santiago Bernabeu. The draw is 5.48. And for Muriqui and Mallorca, 8.27. So let's see who can get the job done. Barca in action against Espanyol on Thursday. And if Madrid win, if Barca win, that will be the end of it. But we'll see how it goes. The season could be stretched a little bit longer. Nouha, let's check in with the comments. It's been a minute.
Of course. I think the comments are mostly saying if Lamine Yamal should win the Ballon d'Or.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to that in a sec. We have FCB Money, who says, talking about Lamine Yamal, that he still has to play in the Nations League final against France. Even though the Nations League, people say that it doesn't matter, it will matter for the Ballon d'Or. Then we have...
Was what he did against France in the Euros not enough? Do you remember that goal against France in the Euros? Me and you, we were together. Lamine Yamal?
Oh, yeah, of course. Come on, man.
They're bringing okay.
Yeah, but then you have Ousmane Dembélé, who plays for France. So if he wins Champions League, not Club World Cup, but...
Yes. The treble, yes.
That would be way more than...
I think it's a... Okay, wait.
No,
I think
I know we'll come to the conversation properly, but yeah, let's just...
Okay. Continue with some comments.
Then we have Al-Kai, who says, at Real Madrid's bad season, Barcelona can't win the La Liga with even 3 games away. That's funny.
Isn't it good that it shows that La Liga is competitive, though?
I think so, too.
I don't know. I think that's how I'm looking at La Liga and Serie A this year, because, I mean... I know these two in the middle have a lot to say about Liga, which was won in March, and everybody's complaining about it. But I think it shows the competitiveness of the league. But I don't know.
Then we have official Jamaica.
Shantelle.
On our account.
Who says, instead of Madrid training, they are busy supporting Inter Milan. And I think they made reference to the liked post of one of the players. Yeah. And then we have Barnabas Santui, who says, let's be honest, Inter can't beat Barcelona. If the ref would have given the right call for Martin, Inter would have never won the match. What do you think?
The refereeing wasn't great, but I don't want to take anything away from that match, because I think over 2 legs, we got to see some incredible football. We got to see remontadas. We got to see amazing goalkeeping. We saw 2 teams really fight. And yes, I don't think the refereeing was amazing, but I don't want to take away from what was one of the best matches in Champions League history and focus on that. I do think we're living in, unfortunately, a day and age where reffing more times than not is bad. And that is the bigger picture, and I think that's something that all leagues, especially La Liga, needs to look at, and Prem, Champions League, sure. But I don't want to take away from what was an amazing 2 legs of football, and that whether you are Barca, Inter, or a football fan, you're never going to forget.
Absolutely. Clinton, just one last comment, and it's for you. That's why I'm reading it. Lim Kid said, Clinton, don't worry. The season is almost over. Also, remember, last season we won all the Clásicos and even won the UCL.
But that's last season, though.
No, but that's the thing with Barca and Real Madrid. Of course, this season is Barca's season. We can't take that away from them, but we don't know about next season.
Okay.
And the next 5 years.
I think this season is just a bad season for Real Madrid. You know.
I thought they were taking away from what Barcelona is doing.
What?
No, that's not what they were saying?
What do you mean?
No, I reacted like that because I thought they were discrediting Barcelona for the season. Like, oh, we won everything last year, so isn't that the tone?
No, it was given shine for last season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then again, I think both players always tend to remember what they've done before, just to kind of like woo their opponents. I mean, we've seen it with Vinicius so many times. But yeah, exactly. He always does it. Like that's usually his I mean, that's his argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Do your
Right.
15 UCLs and whatever. But no, I think this is just a bad season for Real Madrid, and hopefully with the introduction of maybe Xabi Alonso, hoping, of course, he's not my best choice when it comes to coach, but
Wait, who did you say your best choice was?
We all said Klopp.
Klopp. Oh, Jesus.
I would have loved to see Klopp there.
Okay, well, this is a perfect segue. Chantelle, let's talk about the future of Barcelona and Real Madrid then, shall we?
Yes. So I think that every era has like its dominant force, but dominance doesn't come overnight. It's something that's built. So I took a look at who would be more prepared in the next 5 years to come, Barcelona or Real Madrid. So let's have a look.
The Barcelona-Real Madrid rivalry goes beyond today's match. It's about legacy and the future. One is rebuilding with homegrown talent, while the other is strategically combining global stars. The real question is, who will be more prepared in 5 years? Barcelona's future isn't a promise. It's already happening on the pitch, in Europe and through the academy gates of La Masia. Lamine Yamal is just 17. But with 40 goal contributions this season, he's already playing like a star in his prime. On the other end, Pau Cubarsí has locked down a starting spot in central defense. Both have even already started in Champions League. This is no longer about potential. These are difference makers. And when your brightest players come from your own academy, that story travels. Global brands are paying attention, and that could mean a new wave of sponsorship revenue. Behind the scenes, the financial cleanup has been just as important. High earners like Busquets, Alba, and Piqué are gone. The club's wage bill has dropped by over 160 million euros in just 2 years. Now it's youths on long-term deals, not veterans on legacy salaries. The new Camp Nou will change the game again, doubling matchday revenue, boosting Barca's commercial pull, but La Liga's strict financial rules still hang over them. Even with the academy thriving, big money signings are limited. Every move has to be calculated. Over Madrid, the approach is different, not homegrown, strategic. The average age of Madrid starting 11 this season, just 25 and getting younger. Real Madrid is retooling its defense, linked with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Dean Huijsen, two players with versatility and tactical range. And with Xabi Alonso set to take over, expect a tactical shift, 3-4-3, maybe even 3-5-2, to unleash the pace and power of Mbappe and Vini Jr. But what truly sets Real Madrid apart is their financial power. Gives them the freedom to act when others hesitate, to sign superstars, retain talent, and staying ahead without risking long-term stability. Barcelona and Real Madrid both are building for the future, just in different ways. 5 years from now, it won't be about who saved more or who spent more. It will be about who steps on the pitch and delivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to start with Barcelona's academy. I want to say that it's arguably the best academy in the world. We've seen where they have produced stars like Iniesta, Messi, and in recent times we're seeing the likes of Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Pedri, Alejandro Balde, like we could go on and on and on. But my question is that a strategic, is it sustainable? Is that strategy sustainable in the sense of them relying on that system, because we know the financial struggles where they're not in the position to sign a big player or, have that backup readily because of the restraint that they have. And then you have a Real Madrid who can openly just get whoever they want. For example, they get Trent, they get a new manager. Whatever is not working for them, they can just throw money at it and fix it. And back to the whole Barcelona relying on the academy, Ansu Fati, I have to bring him up, in the sense of he was promised to be the next big thing, and then injuries happen. He even did an interview with Marca back in 2023 saying that, he felt pressure on him. He didn't feel like he could live up to what was put on his table, and sometimes that's what happened with young talents. And we were speaking about it earlier where these young players, they're playing a lot. So there could be a chance where we see them being burnt out before time. So I feel like the edge that Real Madrid really has over Barcelona right now, I have to give them credit that, yes, the academy is producing players that they can grab on at any point. But when you have a club that's big like Real Madrid, where they can always just readjust, if they go trophyless this season, they can just get new talents, get new persons to just switch things and come back next season, versus a Barcelona where they have to wait on the academy. For example, Lewandowski, he's on his way out. When he's injured, who do we have stepping up? Ferran Torres. And I want to say that when he steps up, he's a good player, yes, but he's not playing in his natural position, and we see that inconsistency. So what does Barcelona do? Wait on another academy player? Or, you know, if they had that resources, but I'm happy that they are working towards that in the sense of, yes, Frankie de Jong leaving soon, so that's saving some money for them. They have these young talents like the Lamine Yamal, the Pedri, who they lock into long-term deals, and they can, you know, save some money right there as well. So it was hard to really pick who I see being more prepared in 5 years, but I have to give it to the big spenders, because it's like in life, when you have the rich versus the poor, not to call Barcelona poor, but the person who has access to more resources, they will always have the edge.
Who had access to more resources this year?
Real Madrid. And I did say that in the sense of they're going trophyless this season, but they can readjust and come back next season because they have that financial power where they can just throw the money at their issues. They get a new manager. Huh?
They have the trophy this season.
Which trophy?
The Intercontinental Cup.
What?
Against Pachuca.
The Super Cup.
One game, yeah, the Super Cup.
The
Against
Super Cup
Pachuca.
against Atalanta in August.
Yeah, I mean, Kylian Mbappe was there.
Yeah, but guys, come on. But Real Madrid, they're the 50th as Vinny. UCL, they're the UCL and La Liga, yeah. So like, even if they walk away with that trophy, I know that's not enough for them. So I can't even use that.
No,
So
of
yes,
course.
they
I
had
mean,
a
I'm
terrible
not saying-
season,
I mean,
so
I'm
they're
not
going
saying-
to throw money at their
I mean,
problems
I'm not saying that's like a major
and
thing for them to be-
redevelop and come back stronger.
This is a really bad season for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Facts. You know, we're not gonna like throw that one away.
And a
Wait,
bad
quickly.
season means that they can readjust and come back.
Let me ask you, over the next 5 years, who are you leaning towards? Not why. Let me just ask you guys quickly, and then we'll break it down.
Barca,
No, it's for Nouha.
Oh, for Noah.
for me. Barca.
Okay. Chantelle, you said Real Madrid.
Yeah,
Clinton,
Real Madrid.
in the next 5 years, who do you see being... What's the question? Who's going to be better in 5 years?
No, not better, more prepared.
Who's going to be more prepared in the
Yeah.
next 5 years? Barca or Madrid?
I don't tend to want to look at preparation for 5 years because, you know, last year you would have
wanna
said
go
that
home?
Real Madrid, no. I mean, Real Madrid, you would have said they were, you know, with Jude Bellingham come joining the team. They were probably the best in the world. This season, what's happened? We are saying they are probably the worst big team in the world, right? With
But they're
the
quicker
likes
to
of-
readjust and
No,
bounce
but,
back.
But what I'm trying to explain here is I don't think anybody can sit and say, you know, just from thinking, next 5 years you guys are going to be better. You've
What
just
do you mean? I
mentioned-
have a crystal ball right here. I'm going to look and I'm going to tell you.
No, but you can look at different factors.
No, but
It's
no,
just
but-
the feeling that
no,
we have.
No,
and
no,
why.
no, of course. And this feeling, this is what I was also going to explain regarding the feeling, because you've just given two different analogies. One of them is the fact that one team is very rich, they buy players. The
other one has great
they have
homegrown
them from,
talents.
you know. Now, fact is, are we saying that Real Madrid don't have homegrown talents?
They do, but they don't lean towards that. They will go out and get the Mbappes, they will go out and get the Bellingham rather than just digging into the Castilla.
So what I'm trying to say is...
Because they can.
No. In 5 years' time, there is so many things that can happen. But when you look at it from this picture, looking at this team, in all honesty, you would easily say, with the kind of football we see in this our day and age, especially what we've seen this season with Barcelona, for example, you will see what works with players is people who are homegrown understand themselves. They've played together for a very long time, and when they come on the pitch, it doesn't feel like they're playing a match. It doesn't feel like they're doing a competition. Sarah just said it that you saw Lamine Yamal doing some kind of bottle, whatever, just before a major game like the El Clasico, right? Is to tell you that, first of all, of course, that's the kid in him coming out. But also, is to tell you that, listen, what they are telling you, there's no pressure here, right? I'm just about to play with my friends. And, you know, when you have that kind of mentality, you tend to even perform better. There's no pressure on you because you know wherever you send the ball to, there's always somebody that's going to be there. Why? Because these are people you've played with from when you were little, right?
Okay, but Clinton, my question to you now, God forbid, Pedri gets injured. He's out. Something happens to Lamine Yamal. What would be their long-term fix to that?
I mean,
Let's say they're faced with what Real Madrid is facing with in terms of like defense, where all the defenders are gone. What does a Barcelona do in that sense?
I mean,
What if the academy doesn't have anybody that's good to play on that high level in that year? What do they do?
they have to buy players. Or wait because
That's what I'm saying. If Barcelona can figure out their finances in 5 years, then they're forced to be reckoned with. But that kind of holds them back. And we can't say it doesn't, because it does.
It does, but I also think, look at Real Madrid this year and the injuries they have, and they weren't able.
Because they were stingy.
What what if that happens in 5 years? I mean, we know the temperament Florentino Perez has.
But at the same time, again, Real Madrid is that team that's built on ego to me. I don't think they want to look like that. This year.
No, of course.
It's crazy what we're seeing this year.
But I'm just saying they still had the resources. They were supposed to be that super club with Kylian Mbappe and Vinny and Rodrigo and Bellingham and, you know, their back of Rudiger and Militao, and all of a sudden Carvajal is out, Militao is out, Rudiger wasn't David Alaba. The thing is that they had so many injuries too that even with the money, they didn't do anything, whether they should have or shouldn't have. But I understand what you're saying about Barca. If they were to get hit in so many places, yeah, they're not as deep as Real Madrid, for sure. But I do think that the argument can still, like your argument towards Barca, can still be looked at Real Madrid because we've kind of seen it this season. I think the biggest factor for this is if Xabi Alonso, who is linked to the club right now, it's not official, but will likely be coming in to replace Carlo Ancelotti. First of all, that's going to play a major factor. Because if we're looking at the next 5 years, how long is he going to be there? Is he going to mesh well with the club and the players? And if he is, then, you know, do we see him 3 years, 4 years? I don't know. But the other thing is that right now with Barcelona is that they are building a foundation that you're talking about these guys, Lamine Yamal, 17, Pau Cubarsí, 18, Pedri, 22. Like, they're so young that in 5 years' time, they are going to be in their prime in 5 years.
Yeah,
we're not even in their prime.
They're not in their prime. But what happens if the foundation doesn't go as planned? And that's why I brought up Ansu Fati, who persons were calling him the next Messi. And then what happened?
It's because they gave him the number 10, and that was the most, I will never speak on this because it was the most ridiculous thing in football I've ever seen. But Barca has had flops in La Masia, of course. Bojan Krikic, Ilaix Moriba, Ansu Fati. But they have... It's a club that really focuses on homegrown talent, and it's something that Barca have prided themselves on.
And that's something I can appreciate with them as well.
It's not going to be 100% every time,
you nurture the talent, and we've seen what they've been able to produce. But I'm just not really sold, because like, what happens like if that foundation it doesn't go as planned? What's their backup plan?
I mean, I think it also depends on who the manager is. Hansi Flick is set to sign a contract until 2027, so that's a year extension. But, I mean, we've seen him use players that we would never expect in this year. And, for example, Gerard Martin, he's not the best left back in the world, but they're relying on him. They're still getting the job done.
And that pressure as well can be so much for like the young players. Again, back to Ansu Fati saying that the pressure that was on him, it's so much. Imagine, oh my God, a little Lamine Yamal carrying that team, Pedri.
They are carrying that team.
Alejandro Balde. Like,
they literally are carrying that team.
It's a lot for them.
For sure.
You know, and I think that it would be great, again, if they could figure out their finances where they can bring in seasoned player. Because it's really a lot to ask from these young guys.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I think we've seen the Ansu Fati after Messi generation is not the same generation that we are in now. with a complete new mindset on football. The club is lighter. The club is playing like Clinton always talks about, like they're a bunch of friends playing Sunday league. With Hansi Flick in there, you know, there's been a complete shift. It is a lot of pressure on the youngsters, but there's so many of them. All of them. Hector Fort. Think about Marc Casado is going to be back. Of course, you know, Pau Victor, apparently he's on his way out. But there are literally so many. There are more youngsters than, you know, these seasoned players and vets that you're bringing in that I think.
And I have
it's
to
more like
give
a
it
group
to
of friends that are leaning on each other.
Barcelona in the sense of, the homegrown talent. And for example, I have to mention Guy Fernandez, who plays in Barcelona B team. So it's like, yes, the academy is continuously spitting out these great players, but I just need Barcelona to figure out their finances, and then I think that they will be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. I personally don't think Barcelona's finances are that bad. I think if they need to get other players, they would be able to. But I don't think
the
they
restrictions
want to.
that La Liga have on them
squad right now.
I think, though, like there is a concern about Lewandowski because obviously when you're 36, you know, a long time ago for you. Sorry. You can't rely on them as much. And we saw that as the season kind of came to a close here. Will he be able to play next season? Sure. Every single game? I doubt it. So there's like, it's more replacement spots. If Rafinha goes down, who's going to be playing on that left wing? You know, it's more backup, I think. But I do think, like you said, with the conclusion of the Spotify Camp Nou, I think that's going to be major because you have to remember that they've been playing in Montjuic for like a year and a half, which is 55, 60,000, and the old Camp Nou was 90, and this is supposed to be like 100.
And I think their jersey sales are exploding right now.
Yeah, I mean, their drop with Travis Scott over the weekend sold out within minutes. I mean, Barca jerseys.
I think they'll be fine in 5 years.
That's what I'm saying. They're finding their way.
Finances are going to be fine. I
just feel like speaking about 5 years from now, it's in football. I mean, that's the reason why.
Where will you be in 5 years?
Well, that's a very good question. I probably will. That's a very good question, man.
Right here beside me.
No, but still.
That's a horrible thing to say.
Sorry, but I don't know. You don't know what goes to heaven, so I had to.
What?
You don't know which words go to heaven straight. I mean, I'm not saying being with you is a problem, right? But what I'm saying is, maybe who knows in 5 years' time we're in a whole massive, big, sporty TV, studio that's as big as the Valdevivas. Who knows?
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, I'm not going to be here with you. I'm sorry, Sarah.
All right, let's check in with socials, Nouha.
Of course, I have a lot of comments here, and they're big paragraphs here.
Oh la la.
So we start with Ambitious Prone, who says 5 years is a long time for Shantelle to be saying Barcelona are not going to be spending money. Barcelona still spends money, even though not as much as Madrid. Barcelona is going to be sorted out. Do you have anything to say to that, Shantelle?
When did I say that they're not spending money? I'm literally saying that Barcelona, if they get their finances together, they will be fine in 5 years.
You got your answer. Then you have Yajna Ori, who says Real need to use their existing players in better pressing formations. You need to also see how they sync with other new teammates. And I think that's something Xabi Alonso can actually do.
He's going to have to.
Yeah, well, he will have to control the
He's going to have to learn.
Yeah.
In that dressing room, for sure.
Then we have official Jamaica again, who says coaches like Hansi Flick are being able to make use of their squad.
Yeah.
And I think they're making the parallel with Ancelotti, who has not been using the full extent of his squad. Or maybe he has been using the full extent of his squad.
I think he's been dealt a bad set of cards this season with the injuries. I don't think anyone can deny that. But I think there's been an ongoing issue of Mbappe and Vinicius on that wing. Jude Bellingham playing out of position. I mean, Federico Valverde, the player that plays in every position but his own. So I think it goes both ways. He's had to play players out of position because of the injuries, but it's been something that he hasn't been able to
I think what we can say is that while Barcelona is using the academy, Real Madrid is scared of using the academy. And I think that's why I personally said that Barca would be more prepared in 5 years than Real Madrid, just because for the simple reason that Real Madrid is still far behind when it comes to thinking in the future and being present in the moment. So I think that's the only reason I would say Real Madrid would not be as prepared, I think, because they don't trust the people they recruit that much.
Why do you
Unless
think
they
that's the
are
case?
world champions.
Why do you think that's the case? Why don't they trust Castilla?
They've always been like that, to be honest. Though.
Yeah, I think
I don't know why,
just
but
because-
it's kind of something that they've always done. It's not quite normal that we hear of like the Carvajals. They're so
Exactly,
rare.
because Real Madrid just likes to throw their money at flashy
Yeah, because
things.
when you have a team that's going after a player, Real Madrid is always like,
Exactly.
I'm going to take them. But that's like kind of like they like to scare these other teams. They like to show their dominance. I don't know if maybe that's why, but
I personally think it's because of the system they are in. I think it's, and I'm sorry for this language, but a bunch of old men who like football and who like the football they see.
Did you get offended by that? Did you?
What? They are. I mean, they're much older than you, Clinton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't worry. I don't know your age, but yeah, I think
Old,
so.
just-
He's like 100 and something. Like, come on.
God, look at what old men have to go through.
All right, well, speaking of old men, let's welcome Eustace to the show.
Eustace, okay, they brought another old man to me. Okay.
I'm joking. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, but I'm not that old.
I know. It was just a perfect.
Now, Eustace, by the way, Eustace is 10 years older than me. Now, he says he's not that old. Imagine
I'm not
what I
gonna
have
get
to
involved.
go through here every single day in the studio. Anyways.
Eustace,
it's good to
I know
hear.
you've heard some of this conversation, but we're just talking about the possibility of Barcelona and Real Madrid in the next 5 years and which team is going to be more prepared. Do you have an opinion? Are you swaying one side or another?
Well, basically, Sarah, I think 5 years is a stretch. 5 years is half a decade, and a lot could happen before then. There are so many dynamics and how this could turn. But going by the way the financial fair play rules are playing out, and how other teams are giving those long-term contracts to their players, 9 years, 8 years. I mean, the trend has changed. So I think basically it's going to boil down to the youth systems that they are able to deploy, and on that tangent, I think that Barcelona have that promise with La Masia, proven over time that they can give them the quality they want. You look at this Barcelona current team, and then you can tell that they are doing something right with the youth system. I mean, the guys who have come in, the Pedris, the Gavis, Lamine Yamal, the star boy of the moment. And I mean, over time, I mean, Lionel Messi's time, and you can go back a few decades and you can tell that La Masia has obviously been very dominant when it comes to youth football. And I think that is what the future holds for them. And either of these teams who takes the steps, the prerequisites to further bolster their youth systems will be the ones to come out trumps. So I think generally 5 years is a stretch. Of course, the finances will come into play. The Real Madrid always on top of the Forbes list when it comes to revenue and world football. Barcelona not too far behind, and they've been in the top 5 for a few years now. So, I mean, despite the fact that Barcelona are cash-strapped currently, I think on a long-term basis, the youth football system is the one to save them.
Just really quickly, a friendly reminder to everyone. Pedri actually didn't come from La Masia. I know one of you guys mentioned it, and you, Eustace, as well. Barcelona just snagged him from Las Palmas when he was 17. So it appeared like he was with Barcelona for at a young age.
Yeah, but he was actually with Barca B, right? Barcelona B.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But he's been there now for 5 years, which is incredible when you think about a player at 22 years old. It's something. But yeah, I mean, Shantelle, I guess we will see. It's hard to say. There's so many factors involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of things can change in 5 years, and there's a lot of factors that you have to take into consideration. So I guess we just have to wait and see who will really be prepared. And as I said, it's who really comes onto the pitch and delivers when it's time. So
Yeah, we
I think,
will
sorry,
go for it.
I think the replacement for Florentino Perez is also going to be very crucial. I don't know if he's going to be there in the next 5 years, but whoever replaces him has a very Herculean task. And I
don't believe in that, because I think when an old man goes, an old man comes to replace, and I think Clinton knows what I'm talking about.
They are
But I
not
think
going to give up today.
Yeah, I feel like Real Madrid will always hold their tradition close
the
to
same
them.
people.
So
It's the same people.
Sure.
Because the same 100 people are voting, so it's basically the same person, different fonts.
Okay, well, I'm inclined to agree with you on that. Maybe. But who knows? I mean, whoever thought at a point in time that Barcelona were going to have the impetus to appoint Pep Guardiola with no experience coming from Barca B to take over the first team. I mean, strange things happened. I mean, stranger things have happened in the game. So maybe there might be a change in the trend. But I think for now, you're right.
All right, well, we'll see what happens in the next 5 years. We'll see what happens next season, I guess, as well. A quick congratulations, though, to the Barcelona Feminine, because they just won Liga FA, and they are the Barcelona that are going for the treble, taking on Atletico in the Copa de la Reina and the Women's Champions League final against Arsenal. Ancelotti to Brazil, KlintonCod, May 26th. He's going to be headed to Brazil to take over the national team. It's not so much a secret anymore, is it? Stop touching your face. We're on TV.
No, it's my I don't know. You know when this stuff start coming out from when you have those tiny ones
Zits.
somewhere. Is that what you call it in English?
Is it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was.
Pimple?
They call it pimple.
Oh, yeah, it's the same thing.
Oh, is that what they call it? Right.
A whitehead?
It just means that there are people orchestrating stuff from my village in Nigeria. So I need to squeeze.
Okay, do not squeeze it near me or on TV.
So you're happy with my village people?
Stop.
Cool, makes sense. That's fine. I see.
Makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, what were you?
Ancelotti to Brazil?
No, I think, first of all, I'm happy he's getting out of Real Madrid. Literally, I wanted him to get out. The club is way bigger than his level of coaching, and we needed that whole fresh... You know, that guy who's going to come and say, yo, listen, I understand you guys are superstars, but listen, I am also a superstar, and I'm going to show you guys how I do it. That's what I believe Real Madrid deserved at this point. Now, he's going to Brazil. My question is, will he survive Brazil, though? Like,
I'm following.
No,
Go.
I wanted to ask that question because the Brazil team that we're used to over the years isn't the same Brazil today.
Because let me tell you what I think, right? What he has with
Can
Real
he
Madrid,
restore them?
he's going to Brazil to go have like 10 times more of what he couldn't manage in this Real Madrid that we have currently. Fine. Let me tell you the problem with Ancelotti, right? Ancelotti just does not really know how to handle these superstars coming together and how to make them work. Now, you are going now to a team.
What do you mean?
I mean exactly what I just said.
Ronaldo.
Sorry?
He had a superstar, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Listen, we are looking at this Real Madrid where there was some kind of confusion going around. You have a Vinicius and Mbappe. I'm speaking about this season alone, by the way, just in case you're a Real Madrid fan. You know, I know people will say, but he's won so many times. I'm just speaking about the fact that you have this whole team of this really is super front four. That, in my honest opinion, I felt like he's not managed them properly, you know? And, you know, when you look at, of course, defense is one of the biggest issues that we've had with Real Madrid, and then maybe some level of midfield where we've had Valverde having to go play defense. Like, there've been issues with the team. What I'm saying is you are now going to Brazil where you have the likes of, God help me with the name of this player that I used to love so much. He's a Brazilian. He used to play for Everton. He's gone to Tottenham. And
Richarlison.
Richarlison, thank you so much, right? A team where Richarlison does not even see his stats. You guys don't know what this guy is going to inherit.
I think the thing is as much as Real Madrid are unforgiving, so is Brazil. So are Brazilians. Brazil is the home of football, truly. So I think Ancelotti is set for that pressure because Real Madrid are very unforgiving as well, as we know. But he is the most decorated manager that Real Madrid has ever seen, which is something, you know, remarkable for him. 2 La Ligas, 2 Copa del Rey, 3 Champions League, 3 Super Cups, 2 Club World Cups, and a FIFA International Cup. He's had 6 years over, you know, a period of 2 separate managerial stints. But I think what he's done at that club is remarkable, and I think it's something that we won't forget. Now, Eustace, let's take a look at Brazil, because somebody that watches a lot of South American football over here is thinking this Brazilian side needs maybe more than Ancelotti at this point. I mean, realistically, this Brazilian squad hasn't been good since maybe the likes of Dunga when he was in charge. But that was only when they won the last Copa America in 2020. But before that, I mean, Brazil, if we're talking about, the glory days of Brazil and when they were winning, when they were with Dunga, they were, winning the 2002 World Cup. Who was the manager? Scolari, no? Yeah,
Scolari,
this was the last time that they won something, of that level. And then they have 2 Copa Americas since then, since 2002. So it's 2025. So we have 13 years where they've won, these. And this is Brazil. This is Brazil with the likes of so many players coming through right now. Vinicius, Rafinha, Rodrigo, Bruno Guimaraes, Thiago Silva, Ederson, Alisson.
Martinelli.
No, exactly. Gabriel Martinelli. I mean, Gabriel Martinelli is never going to see that left wing with the other people up there. But I have to ask you, Eustace, is this going to be something that Ancelotti can fix, or is the problem more than the manager? It's the federation.
This will be tough because we're actually going to project what we think will happen. And the marriage between Carlo Ancelotti and Brazil, I think personally, from a personal perspective, is one that will work. Now, let's go back a bit in time. And you talked about the 2002 World Cup winning team with Brazil under Luis Felipe Scolari. And before then, they had gone on that drought, should I say drought, from 1970 when Pele last won it for them. And they had come close a few times. But what we can say about this Brazilian national team is that at every point in time, the prerequisite is to win the World Cup, is to win. And they don't accept second place, they don't accept. And these are the standards. And he's leaving Real Madrid to a Brazilian team that has almost the same standards, like you rightly pointed out. Now I'm looking at Carlo Ancelotti and his style of play. I'm looking at Brazil and the personnel they have. You mentioned a host of players, especially the forward line. And we all know the Brazilian style of play. Naturally, they are expressive. They like the jenga, the samba. They like to flow and in their own rhythm. It's always been like that. That's why they won the World Cup for 5 times. It's always been like that for them, and they are expressive. They've had great players all over every generation. Brazil have always had those great players. In '94, when they won with Bebeto and Romario up front, it was a smooth style. They had a young Luis Nazario Ronaldo then, who came through the ranks to lead the team to win in 2002. And I've just been fact checking the mental fortitude they've displayed across the board every time, and that's why it looks like they're on a downward spiral. Now, Ancelotti likes to play. He said in a few interviews that he thinks football has gotten too scientific. The forward players are not allowed to express themselves. You have to give a pass to, come as an inside forward, shoot the ball. But he likes to allow them to dribble, to go past your man, to entertain. And that is what Ancelotti's philosophy has been all through his coaching career. He's had great achievements by his style of play. And the key thing for him is he simply sticks to a 4-4-2 every time. I mean, he popularized that 4-4-2 diamond midfield formation in the mid-90s. He actually made it work. And it brought a system that saw wingers express themselves. I think Brazil have a lot of these potential in their team. They have a lot of these players who can express themselves. Um, on the wing, with Vinicius Junior is looking to soar to the Ballon d'Or standards, and I think Ancelotti will give them the freedom. He's said that in previous interviews I've seen him say that he thinks he's gotten a bit too scientific, and sometimes you just have to allow the players a certain level of freedom. I think with the quality Brazil possesses, with the kind of squad they have, I think Ancelotti is just going to make them flow. I think he'll build that team. He has to work on their mentality because they need to believe that they are number one. It's the home of football. They are the most successful team at the FIFA World Cup. They've won the Copa America how many times? They've been there, done that. So the standards are there. There's no room for error. He cannot fail. And at this point in his career, I think with all he's achieved, sometimes you need a manager of this magnitude to get the players to move to his rhythm. I think in the last, since Carlos Dunga, of course, Brazil haven't had that kind of charismatic manager who can command the pool and that dressing room. But Carlo Ancelotti, I think, is the right moment for him. I think it's the right step in the right direction. Brazil will chalk some results. As to whether they can win the World Cup, that will be a completely different story. I think that the time frame is quite short from now till 2026. He will have to. He won't. It's unlike club football where you have a lot of time week in week out. You are with the players, training with them. You get to see them only at certain points in time during the international breaks. So I think it's going to be a tough job, but with the talent they have, the quality available to him, I think he should get Brazil playing in a free-flowing style and actually be able to achieve their target. If they don't win the World Cup, I think they'll get very close to it.
That's interesting. I mean, 1 year and a World Cup across 3 nations, not close to one another, and a new format being introduced. I'm hesitant to agree with you there. Clinton, when we're talking about this Brazil squad right now, Ancelotti obviously has a personal relationship to Vinicius Jr., but when you're looking at him and Rafinha this season, is it something that he has to put aside if he's looking at who the better player is right now, or do you think he will still back his former Madrid star in Vini?
You see, in all sincerity, when you look at that left wing, and I mean, I'm sorry to Barcelona players, you know, I will still not give it to Rafinha. I'm sorry, because I know the kind of game.
Well, let's see what he does with Eustace before we get him.
No, honestly, this is listen. When I look at players and how they play, right? There are players that make me love watching football, right? And I will continue saying it. The reason I watch Lamine Yamal on the right wing, I know we're speaking about Brazil, but the reason I love Lamine Yamal, forget about the goal, forget about the assist, it's about the fact that my man gives you something to look forward to on the pitch, aside from the goals and the assists that they produce. We're speaking about the fact that Di Marco only landed in Italy yesterday from where Lamine sent him to. He was still on that, he was still on the flight. Because the flight, he couldn't even stop in an airport. I thought he was even, what's it called? I thought it was a connecting flight. I didn't know it was actually a direct flight. My man only landed and he went straight to the pitch to go play the team that he played on Sunday, I believe, yeah. Now, what am I trying to say? Listen, Vinicius and Rafinha, in all sincerity, between the both players, which player would I want to sit to watch? Who would entertain me? Of course, I'm going to go with Vinicius. Because I could imagine Vinicius and Lamine Yamal, for example, if they were going to play some kind of intercontinental.
Well, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, they won't never. I mean, there's no way we'll see them both. But what I'm saying is, Vinicius, we know he has the mindset of Lamine Yamal, right? Of course, they're having a bad season. Doesn't mean that I will still take Rafinha is having a great season. Fact. He has the assists, he has the goals, he's currently being spoken about Ballon d'Or, whatever, right? But when it comes to, forget about this season, when it comes to the grand scheme of teams right now, say, Clinton, between these two players, who would you love enjoy, who would you want to watch? I would still go with Vinicius.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So Brazil are playing Ecuador in June for the CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers. Ecuador, for all of you that aren't following, are in second place behind Argentina. They are the underdogs in South America right now. Brazil right now are in 4th, but Paraguay just a point behind them. So that's June 6th. It's May 13th. So Carlo Ancelotti is going to land. He's going to have a week to get it together. It's not going to be enough time. You're telling me that on June 6th, he will start Vinicius Jr. over Rafinha, even though that's going to be basing it on this season?
Well, I mean, I don't know if...
Because if you were him, that's what you're saying.
No, listen, if I was Carlo Ancelotti, right, I'm not saying Rafinha is not going to be on my team. Of course, he's going to
No, but who's starting? Who's starting? That's the question. June 6th against Ecuador. This is not an easy game. Who is starting? If you're Carlo Ancelotti.
Before I would make that statement again.
No!
Hold on, right? Vinicius is always not the best. Fact, when it comes to playing for Brazil.
But Ancelotti knows him.
But
I was waiting for you to get to that because Vinny, when he plays for Brazil, is not the same Vinny as
a lot of
Real
players
Madrid,
when they play
though.
for their countries, they are two different, kind of players. But I'm
Rafinha still
also
shows up for Brazil.
No. But I'm still telling you that this is just me personally as KlintonCod, right? I don't watch games based on how many goals. If you give me a very beautiful goal, I will scream, I will shout.
I know you
but
don't.
I'm telling you that when it comes to playing football.
But he's not playing football.
Now, he's playing football,
Vinny,
and
no,
that's the
no.
reason.
Even
No.
at Brazil, no, because I've watched almost every Brazil qualifying game.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, he's not playing either. Vinny has had a bad season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can he come back? Absolutely. Let's hope he does, because he is one of the most talented footballers naturally right now. But he's not having a good season for Madrid, and he's not showing up for Brazil, and he's not playing well for either side. So that's what I'm trying to say. But you're still saying you're going to favor that player.
So when you say he's not playing well for either side, what do you mean either side? For Real
Brazil
Madrid and
or
Brazil?
both?
I think
both.
he's definitely playing for Real Madrid.
You think he's playing well?
Of course. Of course, he is playing well.
Very
They're
good.
Just, no,
very
but he's
good.
just no, but he's just
Keep him there.
No, but for let's be serious. Wait. Because Real Madrid are having a bad season doesn't mean Vinicius.
No, but his individual performance hasn't
Vinny
been
might
that
be the
great.
most
though.
regretful
Come on.
player of the season in
No,
football.
no, Clinton,
I
think
wouldn't
about
really say
Vinny.
that, no.
Even last year compared to the Vinny,
No, of
he's
course
he's
not.
having a bad
But yeah, but that's
season.
the question. No, but this is where the problem comes in. This is not a Vinny problem. This is a Real Madrid problem is different from a Vinny problem, right? At some point, before Kylian Mbappe became, the guy with the highest goal, do you know how many people that came for Kylian Mbappe's head? Everybody thought that he wasn't playing well. But right now, as we speak, even Real Madrid, they've dropped out from the Champions League. They're not going to win the La Liga. They didn't win the Copa del Rey. But are you going to say that Kylian Mbappe has been a bad player? Of course not. It's a team. It's not a him problem. We've seen Vinicius also being the guy who's stepping up in big games. We've seen games where it's almost felt like Kylian Mbappe is non-existent. Rodrigo was not even in the pitch. Jude Bellingham was just running like a headless chicken. And there's only one player. There's only one player who's trying to take on defenders. Listen. Individually, right? I'm not going to say he's a bad or he's a... Real Madrid as a team, collectively, they've not been the best club this season.
Yeah, but we're not speaking about.
We're talking about.
We're talking about.
But we're speaking about Vinny. That's what I'm telling you. I'm saying that for me, I still will put Vinny there because it wasn't his problem. It was a Real Madrid problem. Doesn't mean Vinny is a bad. All the time, Vinny has been carrying the club. What were you guys like? Did you?
But this season he hasn't.
No. See,
But we were
but
fighting
are
about
you?
to carry
Hold on. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying?
He's not even in the power race of the Ballon
Of course,
d'Or.
it's not going to be because a Kylian Mbappe is there. Of course, if there's anybody they're going to consider in Real Madrid, of which they wouldn't consider anything for Real Madrid because Real Madrid they've won nothing.
Before Kylian Mbappe joined Real Madrid, Vinny could have been when Kylian Mbappe first joined Real Madrid, they were at the same level. People didn't think Mbappe was higher than Vinny.
Of course, everybody
but
thought
today,
that.
we can all say that Vinny is lower than Mbappe.
Mbappe
I think
came
it's
into
because-
Mbappe goes before Mbappe left PSG to come to Real Madrid. Mbappe goes into any team in the world and is going to be the main man. When he came, that was the whole issue we're having with Real Madrid when Kylian Mbappe came. It almost felt like he came and he disorganized. They felt like his presence there. Even a Vinicius felt intimidated because this guy, before he came, Vinicius was the man of Real Madrid. He was the face of Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe comes, everybody forgets that. Even I felt like Vinicius was not now playing like the Vinicius because he felt like now nobody looks at me. This is the man they're looking up to, right?
Exactly. So you're making our point right now.
What point do you think I'm making? You've just mentioned. You guys.
Because we're saying that we know the caliber of player
Yes.
Vinny is, and we haven't seen that much.
It doesn't
Vinny's
take
been
it
out.
But this is what I'm trying to say. That of course,
Yeah.
it's not just a Vinny thing. I'm telling you that this is not a Vinny problem. This is a Real Madrid. Things was just not happening. Even look at Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham won 2 seasons ago, right? He was even overshadowing this same Vinny. Who speaks about him which Real Madrid player can you hit your chest right now and say, listen, okay, maybe a Rudiger. Yeah, you can say, okay, he's been that defensive guy. He's really stood there. Asensio came at some point. He was the guy that was shining. But let's look at from the midfield down. I would always, of course, say Valverde, both good and bad, he's always good to me, right? But whether you like it or not, you will see Real Madrid, it's not an individual issue. Real Madrid is a collective team club issue. And then you now have a coach who was struggling.
But Vinicius' problem is that he doesn't know how to play well with Kylian Mbappe, and that's harming him.
This same person gave Kylian Mbappe one of the most beautiful
No,
assists
but
in
Carlos
this
should have figured out how to make them work,
Real Madrid, they are currently, the way we're speaking about Real Madrid, right? You guys are speaking about Real Madrid as if they are like Manchester United in 16th or 17th.
Wait.
In their league table.
Who was talking about Real Madrid like that?
No. I said it's sounding as if that's
No.
what it is. Because you guys are sounding
No,
like... You guys are sounding
Clinton,
like,
no.
hang on, wait, listen. You are sounding as if Real Madrid, they've been so bad, players have not been turning up. This team,
They're just not meeting the expectations.
They are
That's
not.
what
They
it
are,
comes
no,
down
no.
to.
You're looking at the past. Of course, everybody knows this.
But
this
let's say you're
season-
right. Let's say you're right. This season, okay, he's been brilliant, like you said. Rafinha has been more brilliant this season.
Of
You can't
course.
take that off him.
Absolutely, I
So
agree.
why would Carlo Ancelotti start Vinny and not Rafinha?
The person who has been
But
consistent.
on paper, Rafinha should be starting because
Well-
he's been the better player, right? I'm saying now this is what any coach should do. But remember I said this is me.
Yeah.
Right. I am saying Clinton.
Okay.
If there are two players,
Coach KlintonCod, okay.
Here's the thing. I actually just wanted them to fight because what could happen is Rafinha could play on his natural right wing position alongside Vinny in that 4-4-2, like Eustace said.
Does that mean Rodrigo wouldn't play?
Rodrigo ain't playing.
Rodrigo is nowhere in
Rodrigo's
this
not playing.
conversation.
Rodrigo's not playing if he's going to play the 4-4-2. It'll likely be those two at the front, and he can be a substitute. But in 13 days, Carlo Ancelotti will be at Brazil, so we'll have to see what he decides, because one thing with Brazil is that there is never a lack of talent. It is always a matter of how you are going to fill that 23-man squad. So we'll see what Don Carlo has to do there. All right, let's jump into some Ballon d'Or talks. We kind of alluded to it earlier. Eustace, I'll come to you. It's May 13th. We have a Champions League final to play still. There's a Nations League. There's some football left to be played.
Are you sure Eustace is still here?
I'm here.
Oh, how dare you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
You knew we were talking. Right now, where are you leaning with the Ballon d'Or and why? And maybe let's do a top three for all of us. We'll start with Eustace.
Well, this is tricky. It's tricky because at this point in the season,
Eustace, sorry, before you
yeah.
give us the trick, right?
Yeah.
Sarah, is this question for after the Champions League? Or
Yes,
Yeah,
I just
that's
said
what I was
we still
gonna
have
say.
football to play. We still have.
no, sorry, I didn't catch it. That's why I was.
Yes.
Lovely.
It's for when the Ballon d'Or is
Vale.
meant to be given.
Vale.
Okay, Eustace,
And
sorry.
Did you give Eustace who wins the Champions League?
No, because we don't know.
No, but can we not imagine that we knew from either teams? Let's say Inter won it or
No.
PSG wins
This
it.
is how it's going to go.
Okay.
You guys give who you think's going to win the Ballon d'Or and say it's because X or Y is going to win, and then you can back up your argument
Vale.
here because we don't know. Eustace, please.
Well, I was saying that was very tricky because I was about to cite the same circumstance Clinton cited, that the Champions League final is going to be very, very significant in where this Ballon d'Or title goes to. Before Barcelona was eliminated, we're looking at Rafinha seriously as the main contender. And most of the time, the team that wins the Champions League obviously has their star person in contention for the Ballon d'Or. Before Real Madrid were eliminated, we're looking at Kylian Mbappe because Clinton said he's rightly overshadowed Vinicius, who was in the conversation last year. This year, he's not. It was Mbappe. So you pick the top guy from the top teams or those who have performed wonderfully. And I think we've seen in the last couple of seasons that it's gone beyond goals and the assists. It's gone beyond the stats. The playmakers, those who carry the teams across, are able to claim a stake at this award. Rafinha is in the conversation for me. And for a long time, I think Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan, and if Inter Milan manage to win, he's going to be in the conversation. Last season, there were a lot of people who were thinking that probably his PR team, he wasn't marketed well enough because he was the savior for Inter Milan several times on several fronts. So I'm looking at Lautaro Martinez, I'm looking at Rafinha, and even though it's a late shout, there are guys out there who are saying that Lamine Yamal should be included in the shortlist. I know it was a late shout, and his figures are not great, his goals, his assists, but what he brings to the game, and that's the point I've been trying to make, is beyond goals and assists. He takes it magically at 17, and to have over 100 caps for Barcelona, that is really, really serious. So we are looking at Rafinha, we are looking at Lautaro Martinez, and maybe Dembele, because if PSG win, we have to consider that scenario as well. If PSG win, their main man has been Dembele, but with PSG, I think it's been more of a team effort. Even though Dembele has the figures to back him, is he that guy? Does he have that aura, that charisma that we can market as a Ballon d'Or winner? So I think it's going to be hugely dependent on whoever wins the Champions League final. And then that is it's so close because Barcelona is out. And I fancied Rafinha getting it if they had gotten to the Champions League final. Remember, I was on here and I told you that Inter Milan was going to get to the final. And everybody was like, wow, because I felt that tactically, Inzaghi was the man to stop them. But I mean, it was a brilliant game, and I think Barcelona didn't deserve to go out. Unfortunately, they have. And Rafinha sort of he loses a few points and strides in that race with their elimination. But he's done brilliantly. They will win La Liga. They have the Copa del Rey as well. So I'm looking at Dembele, saying for him, if they're able to win the Champions League, it puts him on the treble bounce. So you look at it, Dembele is a favorite. Lautaro Martinez is in there. And I'd like to still stick my neck out and say Rafinha should be competing. So it's these three for me.
Okay, Dembele, Rafinha, and Lautaro Martinez.
Lautaro Martinez, yes.
And you're not picking one because you're going to wait until the Champions League final.
Exactly.
Okay, so those are your three. Dembele, Lautaro Martinez, and Rafinha. Clinton, let's do
the ladies first, man.
Oh.
One of the ladies just finished. Let's go to the second lady.
Don't do that. Shantelle, talk to us.
Okay, so my top three, and this is my top three.
Girl,
my
I know it's Mo Salah.
Just go Salah first. Let's go next. Let's start.
No, it's actually Dembele.
Okay.
Because, I mean, his goal contribution this season, 46. If he wins the Champions League, as Vistas was saying, like that will play a big role if he actually gets it or not. And I want to say that he had a pretty standout season. He really peaked this season. I enjoyed watching him this season. And then in second place, it's actually Rafinha.
Whisper.
And yeah, I have to whisper that, but I can't take away what he has done this season. And I just have to be unbiased. Then I have to put Mo Salah. And the only reason I'm putting Mo Salah at third, because I know, okay, yeah, they got knocked out of Champions League, FA Cup, fumbled this, fumbled that. But at the same time, he had a pretty good season as well. 56 goal contributions. And people are so quick to forget how the season started. Recency bias, maybe. And he really started really strong. So that's my top three. I mean, if I had it my way, I'll just take the Ballon d'Or, just give it myself. But that's not how it works, so I'm just going to put him at three.
Okay, fair enough. Nouha?
For me, without a doubt, I would start with Ousmane Dembele. But just in case he wins with PSG, I think he would deserve it. There's this comment over here who actually said Dembele should win the Ballon d'Or, even though PSG won't win the UCL. We saw Rodri win it because of his effect in the game, and Dembele has done so this season, so I think he deserves it. I think Dembele has been just like, I wouldn't say 100% just like Rodri were, but Dembele...
No, never, first of all, Dembele and Rodri.
No, they're not the
Don't
same
do
for
that.
sure. No, they're not the same for sure, but Dembele has been coming through with his team effort, and he's been so, I wouldn't say consistent because the start of the season wasn't it, but he's been coming through with his teammates, and I think if Rodri got the Ballon d'Or just like that, then Dembele can. For second place, I would put Lautaro Martinez. Yet again, if he wins the Champions League, I think he would deserve it. And then I would end my top three with Lamine Yamal. Because I think he would deserve it, and I think it would be a beautiful thing to witness.
Just on your shout for Dembele, and you're saying it's more so about his aura on the pitch and like what he provides.
Chemistry with his teammates.
Yeah,
aura.
but would then you not say Desiree Doué? Because, I mean, I think he might be more influential to the football that PSG are playing, or even the likes of Vitinha or Joao in the middle. I think those three players are all much more influential to PSG's. Yes, Dembele is scoring the goals, 100%. And since January, he has turned that corner and he's really put on the fire. But I think if you're talking about players, like you were referencing Rodri and the importance to the team, I think those players are much more important to PSG than, I mean,
you would even mention a Pedri to
But it's-
Barcelona as well.
well, we don't compare Pedri and Dembele, do we?
No. I'm just you.
Yes, of course.
Pedro deserves that shout as well.
Of course.
Of course, and if it was purely that, then yes, I would definitely go for Desiree Doué. But it's also scoring the goals, and Dembele has been scoring way more goals than Desiree Doué. Desiree Doué has not been that good at scoring the goals, so that's why I would put Dembele above him.
Okay. Before I come to you, Clinton, just both to Nouha and Eustace here, you guys have given the shout to Lautaro Martinez, who I'm happy is getting the recognition. As last year we were praising him, and he maybe missed out, like Eustace, you said. But if Inter win the Champions League, but they do not win the Serie A because Napoli runs away with it, they're out of the Coppa Italia. Is winning the Champions League alone enough? And he's not the top scorer in the Champions League. I'm playing devil's advocate here because I love the shout of Lautaro Martinez, but I think if you're going to give it to him this season, where were you guys last season? Because last season was the season to give it to him. I'm just wondering if him winning and Inter winning the Champions League, if they do, is that enough? Because we're talking about players like you have a Dembele who is potentially winning a treble. Rafinha's name has been, said here, and they've gone for almost a double. But I'm saying, is that enough? I just want to hear your guys' opinion before I come to Clinton. Eustace?
Inter Milan and coming from Inter Milan and the kind of season they've had, I mean, we know they were almost in the race for a treble. They fell out of the Coppa Italia. The Scudetto looks like it's gone at the minute. But if they are able to win the Champions League, I mean, when was the last time we had an Italian team doing that? I mean, it's been a while, and they haven't. The Italian teams haven't really shown that mettle in the Champions League for a while. But if Inter Milan, and the difference between, you were talking about last year, the difference between last year and this year is that Inter Milan might actually win it. If they win it, the conversation is wide open.
But last year they won. Okay, but last year he won the Scudetto, the Coppa Italia, the Coppa America. He was the best player in Italy. He won the. He had the most goals. He was the most valuable player, and for Argentina as well, he had the most goals. I'm more just saying, is this more like a petty? We kind of forgot about you last year because how you got
sentiment.
It kind of feels like that because, in my opinion, what he's done this year is great. But it's nothing compared to last season. And I don't think he deserves to be in the top 3 unless he scores, maybe 5 goals in the final.
So if he gets a hat-trick,
score in the final, then what are we doing?
Well, and like I'm saying, we saw him play in the second leg at the Stadio Giuseppe Meazza, and we could tell straight away that he wasn't even fully fit. But we saw that he labored that team across the line. I mean, to the best of his abilities. And sometimes it's not in all the shine and glory. When Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, there were question marks all over. And you see, last season, with all the plaudits you gave Lautaro Martinez, the missing link was that he didn't win the Champions League. The Champions League is the holy grail at the minute. And any team that wins the Champions League, regardless of what others have done domestically, etc., you still have the shout coming from there. But I think it's not just the trophies won. It's not just the individual statistics, the goals and the assists or what have you. There's this kind of popularity, I think, that comes with winning it because we all know the process, the votes that come across, and you have to pick 10 players, and so there must be a bit of popularity. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Yamal beat him in the vote if they don't win the Champions League, despite the fact that they got to the final. But if they win the Champions League and he scores a hat-trick, it changes the whole conversation.
Sure.
Because memories will be flooded with what he's done to carry the Champions League. Maybe he scored a hat-trick. And then that's why I go back to the point that game is significant. Whatever happens can rewrite and write all of what he's done last year and this year. The Champions League final is the key.
Okay, well, let's see. Clinton, please.
Yeah, I think for me, the first one is definitely Ousmane Dembele. I think he deserves it this season. If he literally wins this Champions League, I mean, I'm saying he wins it if they win the Champions League. He's been a joy for me to watch. He's been a game changer when we've seen him play. Very threatening, scores goals. I mean, on paper, he definitely is worth giving a shout. He takes the number 1 position for me. The second person, and honestly, in as much as, I mean, it's sad for me to say, it's not because I don't like this person.
Oh.
Rafinha definitely deserves a shout. Yeah. The goals or the
That's how I
assists,
felt.
but I'm not, in all sincerity, I'm literally not a very huge fan of Rafinha for some reason. He's, of course.
I feel
goals,
like he would
assists,
have to prove himself next season and the season after for me to.
like he's a hard worker. He's a team player. He does everything you want from a player. Like especially when you know he's a club that you love. Like you could tell that he loves Barcelona. He wants to win everything with Barcelona. There's a connection going on there. Yeah. So, but if we're going by stats, definitely he does deserve a shout. However, they've dropped out of the Champions League, which I believe Champions League should be a very huge criteria on whether you get this Ballon d'Or, because this is literally the biggest competition in Europe. Like, why are you not winning? Why should I give you a Ballon d'Or when, you don't have it? You get a La Liga, you get Copa del Rey, in all honesty, it's not even that, like some kind of massive
They won
trophy.
against
I'm
Real
going to
Madrid.
judge you. Sorry?
They won against Real
No,
Madrid.
exactly, but they won against Real Madrid. But then again, the reason why we're speaking about it is because it's their Clásico. For me, it's not because it's the Copa. Copa del Rey could have been, say, Barcelona versus Atletico. I don't think anybody would even remember what happened. It's just because it was an Clásico, and it's the reason why we're so.
But it's still a legitimate trophy, like the FA Cup is in England.
It is, of course. But that's the reason why I'm still saying, like, this is a personal thing. Right? There are some trophies that I just don't rate that highly. If that makes sense. Anyways, that's my third shout, which I believe I see no reason why he shouldn't. The only reason is because, again, they've dropped out of the Champions League. It's a Lamine Yamal. Forget his age. He deserves it. Like, what has he not done? He's literally, bro, listen, 17 years old. Okay, yes, you're too young. You need to prove yourself so many years. But the same criteria that they're giving to every other player, why are you not giving the young man? He's playing exactly where these other people have played. Why does he not deserve it? In all honesty, Lamine Yamal is the one player who, if only they did make it and they won the Champions League, right? And Lamine did not get it over anybody, I would have been so angry. Whether he's 17 years, he's not. My man gives me joy. He's the one player that I watch and I'm screaming. Like, the last time I had this kind of gestures when I will see the likes of Lionel Messi play. But Lamine now has given me some kind of,
You wanted to say something? Sorry, I gotta move this along. We gotta go.
No, I saw. Sorry, Nouha, not to be doing the
No,
thing,
you're
but
good.
I saw a comment, and because I know how this particular footballer winds Clinton up, I have to throw it to him. So somebody said Dembele has been outshining this season, but remember, as they say, he plays in the Farmers League. Compare that to Mo, who plays in top English Premier League, which is harder and technical.
Farmers League beats that same more,
Exactly.
Like, literally, okay, once. But even
I think
But he has been consistent, though. Outside of the Champions
all
League.
the goals that are coming from the French league. She's not talking about the fact. I know what she's trying to say.
Use your brain.
She's saying that all the goals from the league, she's asking, or whoever the comment is from, is it as equivalent to the goals that are getting racked up by Mo Salah or Rafinha?
But the argument here is, of course, both goals.
Is he even in your top 5?
The quality of the goals, yes, the different leagues, you can have that argument. But what I'm saying is, if he wins the Champions League, at this point, what Dembele would have done is he's conquered Europe.
Okay.
So for me, that's all that matters to me, right?
And he plays for France. By the way, countries are taken into account too. He plays for France. He plays for one of the top teams, and I think that will, when it comes to voting, journalists will think about that too.
Yeah, but then they can say the same thing about, Rafinha for Brazil or Lamine Yamal for Spain. Because if you're going to pick out of those...
not Brazil, but Spain, absolutely, they should take that into consideration.
No,
but they
I
wouldn't
think
take that for Mo Salah.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I think it's really hard, and we have to wrap up. We have one little last thing.
I mean, I know you say Rafinha, Pedri, and Lamine Yamal. These are your
I think you should just give it to. I don't even care who the second two are. I think you should give it to Lamine Yamal because I think what he's done is incredible, and I think he's the best footballer in the world right now. Now, that being said, I understand the Champions League tax, but I don't think it's fair to discredit what Rafinha has done in the league and what Mo Salah has done in the league. I think, like Shantelle said, there's a recency bias. With PSG and Dembele, okay, Lautaro Martinez, I love, but if they're not going to give it to him last season, this season,
yeah.
I have to put that aside. I'm just trying to be really quick. Dembele, yes, he has been brilliant this season, and yes, he could win all three, but we talk about, Paris winning the Liga is not news. Okay, put that aside. He wasn't that impactful in the semifinal, I found. Now he has to have an insane final for them to give it to him. Yes, he is one of the best players, but if you're also looking at all the goals he's scoring, Salah has more goal contributions, so does Rafinha, so does Lamine Yamal.
Yeah,
so
but,
the thing
Salah,
is,
though, what does Salah have? Like,
bro,
what's
but
the
you're
second-
talking about winning the Premier League and the way they
And
they
you
take
also
that
said that
into
Prem is the
But
hardest
for me,
league
it's
to
just-
win,
But
though.
they take it into consideration.
It's just the Premier
But
League,
you
though.
These are your words.
The Premier League.
But you said it's the hardest league, didn't you?
I'm saying these are things they're going to consider.
Come
These
on,
are
man.
things they're going to consider. If you're asking me, I think it should be given to Lamine Yamal. I don't even care who the second two are. That's where I'm going to leave it because I think that if you're talking about who the best player in the world is, that's who the best player in the world is. I don't care if they won the Champions League or not, but I do know how much they weight the Champions League. So I think for Dembele to win, I think he would need to have, though, like a really fire final. But, yeah, he's in the running to win a treble. So I don't think anyone is
So
not
you
seeing that.
guys mean that if Dembele plays the final, he does not score a goal?
He's now
does
winning the
not
Ballon
deserve
d'Or.
If
Like,
you think he's the best player in the world? No, he's not.
No, of course. No, but what we're saying is, my man is part of a team. He plays in the game.
Yes, of
he wins the
course.
Champions League, right? Of course. He wins the French League, farmer or not, but at least it's still the
But for you, it's the Champions League because let's not pretend you care about the Coupe de France or Liga.
No, I don't know. For me,
So-
for me, it's the Champions
just the
League
Champions
and your
League.
league.
Okay.
Those are the two main criteria to me.
Fine.
Literally, if you have them two, bro, you are going to the you are passing, man.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's quickly wrap up here. We do have, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Sunderland versus Coventry coming up right after the show. EFL Championship, as we know, Sheffield United are through. So we'll be one of these two sides. Sunderland obviously getting the win in the first leg. Maybe a little bit of controversy in that one, winning 2-1. Eustace, I'll ask you this, maybe with the most knowledge of championship football here, but do you see Sunderland getting the job done this evening in order to go face Sheffield?
Well, I think Sunderland are in a very strong position because if you win the first leg by 2-1, you virtually have 1 foot. It's going to take you have 1 foot in the final, so it's going to take a lot of capitulation. It's going to take something really miraculous to come back home and lose by a margin bigger than 1 goal. I think the job is done. I mean, Coventry, I think they've given a good run, but Frank Lampard in there. I mean, the harm has already been done. And like I said, when it was Arsenal against PSG, sometimes after the first leg, the tie is lost. I think Sunderland have done enough. Don't just see this through. It's going to be just a pragmatic game, defensive drill for them. They're just going to go through seamlessly.
All right, perfect. KlintonCod, as fast as you can. You have a booking code for this evening. As fast as you can. No, he doesn't have it. Brilliant, brilliant.
I mean, you could have.
No, because I did forget. Okay, let's do my booking. There it is. Real Sociedad taking on Celta de Vigo later. You've got both teams to score under 3.5 goals and draw or away in the first half.
And sorry?
Draw or away first half?
What the first half?
Double chance. All right.
No, that would be the whole game, man. Now I need to check that stuff.
Yeah, but I think it's happened.
All right, well, this is the
Anyway,
wake-up
I mean,
call.
it's happening though, but I didn't mean that. If that's what's going to happen, then maybe that was the spirit leading me to do it, because currently it's still 0-0, Real Sociedad versus Celta Vigo. And yeah, my booking code seems to be getting in there.
All right, I'm taking Sevilla and Las Palmas. Las Palmas fighting to stay out of relegation. Sevilla just above it. I see goals in this one over 2.5. Both teams to score and over 8.5 corners because of that as well. I'm staying away from a winner in this one. You can get that 4.16. Alex Ashmore has a booking code as well. I'm not sure if we have that. Do we have that? For tonight's match, Sunderland and Coventry. He's gone for over 2.5 goals. home or away. So he says no draw in this one. Over 10.5 corners and both teams to score. It's not coming up, guys. Apologies on the technical difficulties. All 3 of our booking codes will be posted on socials, so no need to worry. But coming up right after this, it's the EFL Championship second leg. Sunderland taking on Coventry. Eustace, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's been a pleasure. Ladies, ClintonCod, a brilliant show again, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Not the same time, but same place. And we'll do it all over again. So until then, as always, enjoy the football.
Mo Salah, Ballon d'Or.
They're done it. Ba, ba, ba.